Have you ever stopped to think about the impact gratitude can have on your life? The Bible teaches us, "In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Gratitude is not just saying thank you. It's an attitude that transforms the heart, aligns our vision with God's, and opens doors to blessings we often overlook. Our daily lives are filled with challenges. Between paying bills, dealing with work issues, and even health concerns, it's easy to fall into the habit of complaining. However, ingratitude traps us in a negative cycle where we only see what is lacking. Gratitude, on the other hand, teaches us to value what we already have, completely shifting our perspective. Modern psychology confirms something the Bible has taught for centuries. Being grateful transforms our minds. Studies show that grateful people are happier, more resilient, and even live longer. But gratitude goes beyond personal benefits. It reflects our faith in God and acknowledges that everything we have is a gift from His hands. The Bible is full of examples illustrating the power of gratitude. Take the psalmist, who declares, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits." Psalm 103:2. He reminds us to recall not just what God will do, but everything He has already done in our lives. This practice is an antidote to discouragement. Often we are quick to ask, but slow to thank. This distances us from God's plan. Gratitude is not conditional, it is independent of circumstances. When we give thanks even amid difficulties, we are saying, "Lord, I trust your purpose for my life." This attitude brings us closer to a peace that surpasses all understanding. Think about your own life. How many times have you prayed for something that is now a reality? A job, healing, a restored relationship. Now reflect. Have you truly thanked God enough for it? Or have you let the habit of pursuing the next goal diminish the value of these accomplishments? Gratitude requires mindfulness, and mindfulness connects us with God. Neglecting gratitude closes doors to spiritual growth. It's as if we're saying what God has done is not enough. But when we are grateful, we recognize that even the small miracles, like the air we breathe, are proof of His care. Gratitude is the language of God's kingdom. That's why gratitude is not an option, but a commandment. And fulfilling this commandment not only glorifies God, but also transforms how we live. Imagine waking up each day not thinking about problems, but about blessings. That's how gratitude changes everything. It reorients our hearts toward what truly matters. Throughout this journey, we will see powerful examples illustrating the importance of gratitude and the consequences of ingratitude. Stories that challenge us to reevaluate how we live and how we can cultivate a more grateful heart. It's not just about recognizing what we have, but living in a way that reflects our faith and hope in God. Later, we'll dive into one of the most impactful stories about gratitude recorded in the Gospels, the healing of the 10 lepers. But for now, ask yourself, what do you have today that was once an answered prayer? Think about it and allow gratitude to begin shaping your mind and heart. In the Gospels, Jesus often taught profound truths through His actions. One of these lessons is found in Luke 17:11-19, where He heals 10 men suffering from leprosy. This story is not just about healing, but an invitation to reflect on gratitude and its absence. After all, why did only one of the 10 return to give thanks? In Jesus' time, leprosy was seen as a social and spiritual sentence. Those with the disease were isolated, losing their families, friends, and even the opportunity to worship God in the temple. Lepers lived on society's margins, considered unclean. For them, healing was far more than physical. It was a chance for redemption and reintegration. When Jesus encountered the 10 lepers, they cried out from a distance, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." Without hesitation, He replied, "Go, show yourselves to the priests." As they followed this command, All were healed along the way, yet only one returned, throwing himself at Jesus' feet in gratitude. And this man was a Samaritan, someone who, in theory, was not even part of God's chosen people. Jesus' response to the Samaritan's act of gratitude is striking. Were not 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? This question is direct and unsettling. It prompts us to reflect on how often we receive blessings but fail to acknowledge their source. How many times are we like the 9, moving on without giving thanks? The Samaritan's gesture was more than polite. He recognized that the healing he received was not merely a physical benefit, but a divine gift. By returning to give thanks, he demonstrated something the other 9 did not: faith. And Jesus responded to him uniquely. Rise and go, your faith has made you well. His gratitude brought not only physical healing, but also spiritual salvation. This story teaches us that gratitude is not automatic. Often, we are so busy celebrating our achievements or pursuing the next goal that we forget to pause and give thanks. Ingratitude, even if unintentional, reveals a disconnection from God. It's as if we're saying, I deserve all this, so I don't need to acknowledge who gave it to me. Another important point is that gratitude is a reflection of faith. The Samaritan didn't just thank Jesus, he worshipped him. His attitude was a recognition that the healing came from God and was not merely a random event. This faith is what set him apart from the other 9. Gratitude and faith go hand in hand, strengthening our relationship with God. Now think about your life. Have you ever received something that changed your trajectory but forgot to give thanks? A job, a healing, an unexpected reunion. Maybe you expressed gratitude at the moment, but later moved on without reflecting on the depth of what you received. Ingratitude doesn't always need words to exist. It shows itself in the lack of recognition. Jesus didn't ask about the 9 to condemn them, but to teach us. He wanted people to understand that gratitude is essential for a life aligned with God's kingdom. When we are grateful, we acknowledge that everything comes from Him, and this keeps us in a constant state of worship and dependence. This story also reminds us that God shows no favoritism. The Samaritan, considered an outsider and excluded by the Jews, was the only one to return. This shows us that gratitude does not depend on social status, knowledge, or theological understanding. It is a simple yet profound act that anyone can practice. Later, we will explore the impact of ingratitude and how it can distance us from God's blessings. For now, reflect. Have you been like the Samaritan, returning to give thanks, or like the 9 who moved on without looking back? Gratitude is not about fancy words, but about recognizing God's hand in every detail of life. The story of the Israelites in the desert is a classic example of how ingratitude can distance us from God and the promises He has for us. Despite being miraculously delivered from slavery in Egypt, the people quickly fell into murmuring, forgetting everything God had already done for them. In the book of Exodus, we see that God heard the cries of His enslaved people and sent Moses to deliver them. They witnessed powerful plagues, the parting of the Red Sea, and the daily provision of manna in the desert. Even so, it didn't take long for them to complain. Why did you bring us out of Egypt to die in this wilderness? Exodus 16:3. This ingratitude wasn't just an emotional response. It had deep roots. By murmuring against Moses and Aaron, the people were actually questioning God's care. Each complaint was a demonstration of their lack of faith, as though God had abandoned them. This, more than anything else, prevented many of them from entering the Promised Land. Ingratitude is a subtle trap. It begins with dissatisfaction, grows with comparison, and turns into murmuring. When we focus on what we think is lacking, we forget the blessings we've already received. This is exactly what happened to Israel. Instead of remembering the God who delivered them, they focused on their temporary discomfort. This behavior isn't unique to the Israelites. How many times have we found ourselves in similar situations? Maybe you're facing a period of financial or emotional challenges. It's easy to fall into the temptation of complaining, asking, "Why is this happening to me?" But are there not reasons to give thanks even in the midst of difficulty? Ingratitude not only distances us from God, but also blinds us to opportunities within challenges. The Israelites had a promise, a land flowing with milk and honey. But by focusing on their present problems, they lost sight of the future. This teaches us that gratitude is essential for keeping our hope alive. Another interesting aspect is that ingratitude creates a ripple effect. When one Israelite murmured, others joined in. This shows how our words and attitudes can influence those around us. Murmuring is contagious, but so is gratitude. When we choose to give thanks, we inspire others to do the same. The Bible warns us about the dangers of an ungrateful heart. In Romans 1:21, Paul writes, "For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened." Ingratitude blinds us to God's goodness and hardens our hearts. To escape the trap of ingratitude, we need to cultivate a mindset that recognizes blessings even during difficult times. It doesn't mean ignoring problems, but choosing to look beyond them. The Israelites had legitimate reasons to feel uncomfortable in the desert, but they also had greater reasons to trust God. And you? Have you found yourself murmuring during a difficult time? Maybe you're so focused on what's missing that you've forgotten to give thanks for what you already have. Like Israel, we are all on a journey. The desert is temporary, but God's promise is eternal. Gratitude helps us maintain this perspective. Later, we will explore how science confirms the benefits of a grateful attitude. For now, reflect on this. What are you allowing to dominate your thoughts? Complaints or gratitude? Remember that the words you choose affect not only yourself, but also those around you. While the Bible has taught the importance of gratitude for millennia, recent scientific studies reveal that this practice also transforms our mental, physical, and emotional health. Science confirms what God had already revealed. A grateful heart positively impacts every aspect of life. Research conducted at the University of California shows that people who regularly practice gratitude have lower levels of stress, depression, and anxiety. Moreover, developing the habit of giving thanks increases emotional resilience, helping us face challenges with greater serenity and strength. The impact of gratitude goes beyond the mind. Studies demonstrate that gratitude is associated with improved physical health. Grateful individuals tend to sleep better, have stronger immune systems, and even experience fewer symptoms of chronic illnesses. This shows that being grateful is not only a spiritual benefit, but also a natural remedy for the body. And how does gratitude affect our brain? Practicing gratitude activates areas responsible for empathy and reward, such as the prefrontal cortex. This not only boosts our sense of well-being, but also makes us more inclined to develop healthy connections with others. Gratitude brings us closer to both God and other people. Keeping a gratitude journal, for example, is a simple way to reap these benefits. In this exercise, you write down 3 things you are grateful for daily. This trains your mind to focus on the positive, shifting the pattern from complaint to appreciation. Studies show that this practice can significantly improve happiness within just a few weeks. Another interesting point is that gratitude enhances our relationships. Researchers have found that grateful individuals are more appreciated by others, fostering deeper and longer-lasting bonds. This echoes what Jesus taught. When we are grateful, we reflect God's love in our actions and words. But why is it so difficult to be grateful? The answer lies in our brain, which is naturally inclined to focus on the negative, a survival mechanism that helped our ancestors endure. Gratitude invites us to break this pattern, redirecting our minds to see the good even amidst difficulties. Science and the Bible come together to show that gratitude is a powerful tool for transformation. While science explains the benefits, the Bible points us to the source. When we acknowledge that everything comes from God, our gratitude becomes deeper and more constant. And have you ever considered how your life could change if you adopted a mindset of gratitude? Later, we'll discuss practical examples of how to implement this habit in your daily life. For now, reflect. What can you be thankful for today? Even on hard days, there is always something to appreciate. Ingratitude is not just a spiritual issue, it also has practical consequences in every area of our lives. When we choose to focus on what we lack, we disconnect from the blessings we've already received, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction and frustration. This posture impacts our emotions, relationships, and even our health. On an emotional level, ingratitude opens the door to anxiety and discontentment. Those who live in constant complaint often feel trapped in a never-ending sense of lack, as if nothing is ever enough. This dissatisfaction steals joy and prevents us from experiencing the peace that God offers, even amidst challenges. In relationships, ingratitude can cause serious harm. Imagine a marriage where one spouse never expresses gratitude for the other's daily efforts. This can lead to resentment and disconnection. The same dynamic occurs in friendships, work environments, and families. A lack of recognition weakens bonds. Ingratitude in the workplace can also impact productivity and motivation. Studies show that employees who don't feel appreciated tend to be less engaged and more likely to leave their jobs. The same applies to leaders who fail to acknowledge their team's efforts, creating toxic work environments. Another important aspect is how ingratitude affects our vision of the future. When we're focused on what we don't have, we become unable to see the opportunities God places before us. This causes us to miss chances for personal, spiritual, and professional growth because our perspective is limited to what we believe is missing. On a spiritual level, ingratitude distances us from God. As we saw in the stories of the Israelites, complaining and forgetting blessings keep us from entering God's promises. Murmuring not only delays our journey, but also reveals a lack of trust in His divine plan. On the other hand, when we are grateful, we completely change our perception. Gratitude opens our eyes to what we have and empowers us to face challenges with more courage. Recognizing small blessings helps us build a mindset of abundance, replacing feelings of lack with assurance in God's care. Ingratitude also takes a toll on our physical health. Studies show that ungrateful people are more prone to stress, high blood pressure, and insomnia. Conversely, gratitude improves physical health by lowering cortisol levels, the stress hormone. This shows that choosing gratitude is not only a spiritual act, but also a matter of quality of life. Now think about your routine. Do you spend more time complaining or being grateful? The answer can reveal a lot about the state of your mind and heart. Perhaps it's time to change your perspective, not by ignoring challenges, but by recognizing blessings amidst them. Later, we'll discuss practical steps to transform this mindset. For now, reflect. Which areas of your life have you neglected to show gratitude for? Remember, gratitude is not a feeling, but a decision. Choose to see God's blessings, and you'll discover how your life can change. Having a grateful heart is a daily choice, and this choice requires practice. Gratitude, like any habit, needs to be cultivated until it becomes part of how we think. But how do we turn something that often feels distant into a constant attitude? Here are practical steps to exercise gratitude and reap its benefits. 1. Start your day with gratitude. Before even getting out of bed, think of 3 things you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be something grand. It could be as simple as having your health, your family, or even the smell of coffee brewing in the kitchen. Starting your day with this attitude reorients your mind to focus on the positive, even on challenging days. 2. Keep a gratitude journal. Set aside a few minutes each day to write down what you're grateful for. Note at least 3 blessings daily. This exercise not only helps establish the habit, but also creates a record you can revisit during difficult times, reminding you of God's care. 3. Practice gratitude in prayer. The Bible teaches us to enter God's presence with thanksgiving, enter His gates with thanksgiving, and His courts with praise. Psalm 104. Make gratitude the starting point of your prayers. Before asking for anything, thank God for what you already have. This practice shifts your focus from what you want to what you've already received. 4. Reflect during difficult moments. It's easy to be grateful when everything is going well, but true transformation happens when we choose gratitude during storms. Ask yourself, what is God teaching me in this situation? Gratitude during tough times doesn't ignore pain, but puts it into perspective, reminding us that God remains in control. 5. Express your gratitude to others. Gratitude should also be verbalized. Say thank you, often and sincerely. Thank your family, friends, and even strangers for small gestures. This strengthens relationships and spreads God's light through your words. 6. Replace complaints with thanks. Whenever you feel the urge to complain, pause and think of something you can be grateful for in that same situation. For example, instead of complaining about traffic, thank God for the safety of your journey or for the vehicle you have. This exercise retrains your mind to seek the positive. 7. Find blessings in the details. Often we wait for big events to give thanks, but God is present in the details. The sound of birds, an unexpected smile, the rain cooling a hot day, all of these are small reminders of His love. Learn to notice and appreciate these moments. 8. Involve your family in gratitude. Make gratitude a family habit. Before meals, take a moment for each person to share something they're thankful for. This teaches children, spouses, or relatives to focus on blessings and strengthens family bonds. 9. Be grateful for the future. Gratitude also involves trusting that God is preparing the best for you, even when the future seems uncertain. Declare in faith, Lord, I thank you because I know your plans for me are for peace and not for harm. Jeremiah 29:11. This strengthens your hope and faith. These steps may seem simple, but their daily application has a powerful impact. When we choose gratitude, we renew our minds and draw closer to God. It's not a change that happens overnight, but a continuous process of learning and growth. Finally, reflect. Which of these steps can you start practicing today? Remember that every small act of gratitude is a seed planted. Later, we'll see how this practice aligns with the Christian perspective of faith and trust in God. But for now, take the first step. Gratitude is a gift that transforms both the giver and the receiver. Gratitude is more than a practice or a habit. It is an expression of faith. When we choose to be grateful, we are declaring our trust in God, regardless of our circumstances. This Christian perspective helps us understand that gratitude is not dependent on what we have, but on the God in whom we believe. The Bible shows us that gratitude is a natural response to God's love and goodness. Colossians 3:17 teaches, "And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through Him." Here, gratitude is a part of our worship, a reflection of our confidence that He is sovereign over all things. In moments of difficulty, our faith is tested, and gratitude becomes a challenge. It's easy to give thanks for a good day or a clear blessing, but when we face loss or uncertainty, gratitude seems out of reach. However, it is in these moments that gratitude becomes most powerful, as it reveals where our trust lies. A clear example of this is found in the life of Paul. Even while imprisoned, he wrote, "Rejoice always, pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances." 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. His gratitude was not based on his situation, but on the certainty that God was with him no matter the circumstances. Gratitude not only demonstrates faith, but also strengthens it. When we give thanks, we acknowledge that God is in control and that his promises are true. This gives us the courage to face challenges with hope, knowing that he works all things for our good. Romans 8:28. Furthermore, gratitude connects us with God in an intimate way. By giving thanks, we align our hearts with his, recognizing that everything we have comes from his hands. This attitude allows us to see even the smallest things as gifts, such as the air we breathe or the warmth of the sun. Being grateful also helps us resist the temptation to compare our lives with others. Instead of looking at what we lack, we learn to value what we already have. This frees us from envy and reminds us that God has a unique plan for each of us. Gratitude teaches us to trust in that plan. Have you ever thought about how gratitude is a form of testimony? When we publicly thank God for his blessings, we show the world that he is faithful. Our example can inspire others to seek a deeper relationship with him. Gratitude is contagious and reflects the light of Christ in our lives. Think about your own journey. Is there something you've hesitated to give thanks for? Perhaps you are going through a desert season and cannot see God's purpose. But as we've seen in previous chapters, gratitude helps us look beyond the present. It is a choice of faith that changes our perspective. Later, we will conclude with a practical reflection to align everything we've learned about gratitude. For now, remember that giving thanks is more than an act. It is a declaration that we trust God and know he is always in control, no matter the circumstances. We've reached the end of this journey about gratitude, but it should not stop here. Everything we've explored, the biblical examples, the impacts of ingratitude, the scientifically proven benefits, and the practical steps, leads us to a central point. Gratitude is not just a choice, it is a response to God's goodness. Reflect on what we've learned. The story of the 10 lepers taught us how rare yet powerful gratitude can be. The Samaritan who returned to give thanks recognized not only his physical healing, but also received spiritual salvation. His gratitude was more than a gesture. It was an expression of faith that transformed his life forever. In the example of the Israelites, we saw how ingratitude can distance us from God's promises. Complaining and focusing on what is lacking blinds us to the blessings we've already received. Gratitude, on the other hand, opens our eyes to God's work in every detail, even in the deserts we face. Science confirmed that gratitude is not just a spiritual principle, but also a practice that transforms the mind and body. By cultivating a mindset of gratitude, we align our lives with God's perfect design, experiencing more peace, health, and happiness. The practical steps we discussed are tools to incorporate gratitude into daily life. Small actions like starting the day with thanksgiving, keeping a journal, or expressing gratitude to others have the power to change our perspective and bring light to those around us. Most importantly, we've seen that gratitude is deeply connected to our faith. When we give thanks, we declare our trust in God, recognizing that he is the source of all good things. This attitude strengthens our relationship with him and helps us face challenges with courage and hope. Now I invite you to pause and think, what has God done in your life that deserves a sincere thank you? Perhaps you've expressed gratitude in the past, but did you do so with all your heart? True gratitude is not fleeting. It's a lifestyle that reflects our trust in God. I encourage you to practice an act of gratitude right now. Grab a piece of paper or use the comment section if you're watching this video and write something you are grateful for. It can be something small or something big. Just make sure it comes from the heart. By doing this, you're already taking the first step toward living more connected to God. Gratitude is a gift that will transform your life and touch those around you. Remember, God is the source of every blessing, and by thanking Him, you not only acknowledge this truth, but also strengthen your faith. Gratitude isn't about what we have, but about who He is. May gratitude become part of your journey, guiding every step and bringing light even to the darkest days. And may you always be able to say, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits." Psalm 103:2. This is the invitation for all of us, today and always.